like to own things that other people don't have. And the same applies to cars for me. One of the reasons why I didn't want to buy my Mazda MX-5 was because everyone has a Mazda MX-5. So today we're looking at 5 cars that all cost less than £30,000 and are incredibly rare. If you want to see this video at £20,000 instead, do hit the like button, 1,000 likes and I'll make that video. Subscribe so if you're new. Without further ado, let's get straight into it. In the late 1960s to mid-1970s, VW and Porsche collaborated on building the jointly badged 914 before moving on to the 928. And after that, this bad boy, the 944, specifically in turbo spec for a bit of extra intrigue and performance. It was a cheaper alternative to the 911 which gave more people access to the brand, just like the Boxster and Cayman do today, though it was also around during a time where Porsche weren't anywhere near as successful as they are today, hence they needed that support from VW to make this car. The turbo came with a 2.5 litre turbocharged inline-4 engine, putting out 250 brake horsepower, taking it to 60 in 5.9 seconds, which is good for a car that dropped in 1982. Right now there are 163 of these still licensed out on the roads here in the UK, and 339 of them sawned off the roads, probably either perishing like the one I found under a bush a few years ago, or hidden in the garages of Porsche fanatics, or being used as track cars, as the 944 has been a popular race car for quite some time. The turbo was a bunch of firsts for the Porsche brand, and cars as a whole, with an intelligent engine setup that meant it was the first car to produce the same power regardless of whether it had a catalytic converter attached. It also had the widest turn signals on any production car, and some additional changes over the standard 944, like a stronger gearbox, stiffer suspension and the likes. It also got some 911 hardware too, like Brembo 4-piston brakes. But for me there are two things to really like about these. One, how much better they're looking the older they get, and two, how many different specs they come in. Honestly, particularly on the interiors, these things can be wildly different depending on how the original owner felt like speccing them. These are listed anywhere from around the £18,000 mark, and at our 30k limit you'll be getting a 1991 example with less than 70k on it. These can be reliable if serviced correctly, but it's worth noting the main common issues are around the cracking dashboard and a couple of smaller gremlins as well. As they're classics, there are plenty of buyer's guides online to use if you're serious. Next up we have one of the most iconic shapes in the history of BMWs, the Z3M Coupe, which put a roof on a well-loved roadster and initially was a bit of a sales flop. The first engine it got came out of the E36 M3 before it swapped over to the one out of the E46 instead, at least in European markets. That means either way it got a 3.2 litre inline 6 which produced 325 brake horsepower, taking it to 60 in 5.1 seconds, again not bad for a car of its age. The performance was never really the focus of this car. It's hard to work out exactly how many of these are left on the roads in the UK based on the data available, but just 990 were originally sold, and as of the end of 2018 there were fewer than 500 still running. Of those sold, 821 came with the E36 M3 engine, which also meant no driver aids, so that's always fun, and the remainder came with the E46 M3 engine instead. The Roadster came first and was a great looking car, but BMW decided they wanted to get more torsional rigidity out of the car to uprate its handling and dynamics, so they chucked a roof on it and sent it on its way. What's crazy is they barely did any marketing for it, as they didn't want it to compete directly with the new E46 M3, which is also partly why they detuned that E46 engine when they put it into the Z3M, despite the fact that it should have been more powerful by all rights, with a shorter, freer flowing exhaust. It quickly received the nickname Clown Shoe for its slightly different appearance, but longer term this has definitely become a head turner out on the roads in a way that the Roadster really hasn't, and the prices definitely reflect that. You'll find these anywhere from around £28,000, making this the most expensive car on the list, and 30k will get you a 2000 model with around 80,000 miles on the clock. Top mounts are known to fail every 60,000 miles or so, and brake calipers are known to seize. The Vanos is also known to have issues, but the two engines actually have quite different stories when it comes to problems, so again I would consult a buyer's guide personally. On to the top 3 now, and in third we have a personal favourite, the Lotus Exige S2, a car that is incredibly hard to come by nowadays and is often overlooked when you consider how different it is to the more recent S3 generation. Seriously though, where the Series 1 is effectively like hen's teeth with just 604 built in total, the Series 2 did have a much larger production, but nothing like the Series 3, and it was smaller in almost every dimension too. That includes the engine, which in the more base specs was a Toyota 1.8 litre inline 4 block, producing 189 brake horsepower, the lowest on this list, but it will still get to 60 in 5 seconds thanks to it being one of the most Lotusy Lotuses of all time, in that it's incredibly lightweight. If you have a bit more money and can go for an S, I would, as you get a supercharger on top of all of that. It's hard to fully quantify how many Exiges there are out on the roads in the UK without superchargers though. Fewer than 100 would be my guess, given there are just 58 licensed examples of the touring spec right now. The Exige was of course built off of the Elise's platform, just as a more savage version, and it never got the K-Series engine in the Series 2, which is always a benefit, as that 1.8 is so much more reliable in comparison. It is worth noting, however, that Lotuses typically have quite expensive repair costs, so do be aware of that if you're buying one. I see the Exige S2 as the perfect example of a Mazda MX-5, if that makes any sense. Not a roadster, but similarly small and built to be as fast on track and B-roads as it can be, with no nonsense incorporated into the design whatsoever. That's why it has that spoiler on the rear, for example, which provides a bunch of downforce, 45 kilograms at 100 miles per hour to be exact, and it's why the interiors are so sparse, just a race seat, some metal floors, and the bare dashboard. You'll need to spend around 21k at the bottom end to get into one of these, and 30k will get you a 2006 model with 45,000 miles on it. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you are, then do hit the like button and subscribe as well if you're new, and let me know in the comments down below. Would you prefer it if a car was rarer or more common? Or does it not matter to you? Is that not something that comes up in your head when you're buying a car? As I said, for me, I really want it to be rare, different, something that you don't see very often out on the roads, but you might think differently. On to another British car now, the TVR Cerbera, which was built by the Blackpool firm to absolutely shred all of the supercar competition available in the late 90s to early 2000s. It was also a special car for the firm, and that was the first 2+2, plus the first hardtop, and most importantly, the first to have its own TVR in-house engine. In fact, there were multiple engine options, all built by TVR, including 3 different V8s, but in this video we're going to talk about the hallowed Speed 6, a 4-litre inline 6 block producing 350 brake horsepower, taking it to 60 in 4.4 seconds, which isn't the most powerful or fastest engine, but quite scary considering. Currently, across all engine options, there are 368 Cerberas running around here in the UK, and 481 that are sawned, meaning most likely collectors are putting them to one side. This car was named after the 3-headed beast of Greek mythology, which guarded the gates of Hades, and I think that's a pretty fair description for it. Peter Wheeler was the head of TVR at the time, and basically had to start building his own engines because of BMW's purchase of Rover, where TVR had previously been getting their engines from. Peter was worried about supply chain issues, so they started building their own engines and really focused on building engines that were race ready, in a format that you'd also find in current day F1 cars. But on the Cerbera, it's an interesting car. I mentioned it's a 2+2, but in reality, as with most 2+2s, the rear seat shouldn't really fit a human, except for the fact that TVR actually made one practicality move with this car. The passenger seat slides very far forwards, giving more space to someone sitting in the rear, hence this car is often referred to as a 3+1. It is absolutely beautiful too, and the facelift only enhanced those looks. I actually think they look way newer than they really are. They start at around £22,000 today, and for 30k you'll get a 2000 model with around 45,000 miles on the clock. Reliability on these, however, is known to be terrible. They can be okay, but require good maintenance to keep them going, hence many people swap the engines on them. Taking the top spot on this list is the Lexus RC F, a car that is 10 years old as of 2024, making it the newest car on the list by a pretty huge margin, which of course has its benefits in terms of comfort and luxury. Despite being incredibly rare, I've always thought it's an exceptionally good looking car with the surprisingly wide wheel arches, the multiple vents all around, the spoiler, and all the rest. Genuinely, this car looks super mean, and I'm yet to find an angle where it doesn't look good. It's not just good looking though, it's got a bit of a beastie engine in it too, a 5-litre V8 block producing 456 brake horsepower, which will get to 60 in 4.4 seconds, matching the TVR, which is crazy to think. It just reminds me how much of a bomb on wheels that Cerbera is. Currently on the roads here in the UK, there are fewer than 250 of them running around, meaning you're highly unlikely to come across one, and I feel like they've been slightly overshadowed by the more recent LC500 anyway, so they definitely sit a bit under the radar in my books. There are a bunch of different versions of the RCF, including a more track-focused model known as the Track Edition, and it has other options like the aerodynamic package and the carbon fiber package, but to be honest, even the base spec is performant and good looking enough. Honestly, I think this is a highly underrated car. The design is timeless in my books, and then the equipment attached is really solid, like the torque vectoring diff, the 19-inch BBS forged lightweight alloys, and even parts that have come off of the hallowed LFA. In fact, this is basically the poor man's LFA, nowhere near as special or insane, but still very rare, very good looking, and very fast. To get into one of these, you'll need to spend around 22k at the bottom end, and 30k will get you into a 2015 model with around 70,000 miles on it. Some owners have actually suffered from bad reliability on these, but most stories I can find on forums are people being super happy with them longer term. And so there you have it, 5 particularly rare cars for under the £30,000 mark. If you want to see some other rare cars that are going up in value, then click up here, subscribe as well down here. Huge thanks to the page for their support, and you guys as well for watching. I will see you in the next one.